Crash! I'm sure most people have heard of this anthropomorphic orange marsupial and its story, but I'll give a brief rundown for anyone who hasn't.
Crash Bandicoot was created by Naughty Dog and has first airing on the PlayStation 1 in 1996 and would have two sequels and a racing spin-off between 1997 and 1999. After that, Naughty Dog lost the rights to Crash, and afterwards, between 2000 and 2006, Crash would have 9 new games come out to varying qualities and receptions. Some were hated, some were loved, some had the fan base completely divided, but for the most part, none of the games seem to hit that same level of quality that Naughty Dog had achieved.
And with that, you are caught up on Crash's history. And Spyro the Dragons, because really just replace Crash with Spyro and Naughty Dog with the Insomniac games, and it's basically the same thing. Anyways, back to Crash. Like I said before, Crash would have 9 new games between 2000 and 2006 on a multitude of platforms, but besides 2, none of the games seem to hit the same success as Crash 1, 2, 3, and CTR. Because of this, Radical Entertainment and Sierra Entertainment, which is a company that nobody has heard of before, decided that it was time to update the series for a new audience, so Crash and his friends got a redesign and a new game type, and the end result was Crash of the Sorry, puns physically hurt me. Crash of the Titans was released on the PS2, Xbox 360, GBA, Wii, PSP, and DS on October 4th, 2007 in North America to mixed reviews, and was the first Crash game to not come out in Japan for some reason. Those are not good signs. Now, critics may have had mixed feelings on the game, but fans didn't. They hated the game due to the redesigns of the characters and the shift from a platformer to a beat-em-up with platforming elements. Is this game actually good? Well, based on things above, things aren't looking good. But let's see for ourselves. I mean, I didn't grow up with that much Crash, so I'll be going in not as a Crash fan, but as someone who loves video games. There are 2 things I want to get out of the way before we get into the game: the music and the redesigns. Let's start with the music. Oh my god, it's so good! This soundtrack is seriously great, and you should go listen to it. Now, you may be wondering why I'm bringing that up now, and not after I go through the story like I've done in the other reviews. Well, I have heard that the game's soundtrack is copyrighted, and I don't want to get a strike because of it, so I won't add in any music from the game during editing. I'll instead add in music from other games. But seriously, listen to the COT soundtrack. Okay, now the redesigns. This game is infamous due to the redesigns of the characters. Now, the characters have been redesigned in the past, but they mostly stuck to their original designs. This game, however, doesn't, so let's go through them now. Crash is good. I mean, it's weird seeing him without gloves, but besides that, he looks fine. Aku Aku, in my opinion, looks better, even though he does kind of look like a monkey. I think Crunch has received an upgrade, though that may be because I really dislike Crunch's original design. Coco looks fine, you know, despite the fact that she has a melon head now. Engine's model looks fine, but I'm still unsure on whether or not I like him with actual skin color or gray skin. Cortex looks good, and personally I think it looks better than his last few models. Nina's redesign, in my opinion, is the best one. I hate her original design, so I think she looks a lot better here. I think Uka Uka has the second best redesign, though he does barely look like his original self. And finally, Tiny. I don't like it. Not only is he unrecognizable from his previous self, but I think he looks too much like a real tiger. It just seems out of place in this land of anthropomorphic creatures and floating masks. Well, I think I've stalled this long enough. Let's get into the actual game. We begin with Crash, Crunch, Coco, and Aku Aku hanging out outside before Cortex comes in and captures Coco and Aku Aku. While this is happening, I noticed that Coco sounds like Jimmy Neutron.
Crash! Help me get this gizmo working! Play back the last part again. Audio only.
Aku Aku sounds like Grim from The Grim Adventures of Billy and Mandy.
I have been fighting evil for many centuries.
Now can we leave him to die?
And Crunch is a Mr. T parody.
Welcome to Fairfield Inn and Suites.
Make a sucker.
Sucker?
What? You don't even got a body.
You know, I just met you, and I'm already starting to hate you. And we're off! Woo! Man, this game controls great. The controls feel very responsive and immediate. At first they felt odd, but I got used to them fast, and they're actually quite good. Now that we've been set loose to play the game, you may see the biggest difference between this game and the past 5 main Crash games. You see, while it does still have some platforming elements, this game's main focus is combat.
What?
The combat is fairly simple. You have a standard punch, a heavy attack, a spin that you can use after you jump by pressing square repeatedly, and you get a blocking move after you save Aku Aku, who says he was powerless against a cage and some rat minions, despite the fact that he's a magical mask that could easily float through the bars. Because video game. You do get the classic spin attack, though this time you have to unlock it and you get dizzy if you use it for too long. I'm not making this game sound any better, am I? After we rescue Aku Aku, we get a glimpse of a large creature, and soon enough we are introduced to the main gimmick of the game. The Titans. This here is the Spike, the first of 15 Titans in the game. The Titans are mutant hybrids created by
Uka Uka's mojo and Cortex's science
that are stronger and tougher than the regular minions you encounter. The main mechanic of this game involves these guys. See this little green star bar that appears above the Spike's head as you attack it? Well, that's the stun bar. As you attack a Titan, this bar will fill up. If you stop attacking it, the bar will start to drain. You're going to want to fill the bar, as when you do, it'll stun the Titan so you can jack it. That could have been worded better. You see, through the power of Aku Aku's magic, you can hijack the Titans to use for your own purposes. I assume it's magic anyways. Crash just kind of does it without explanation. You can also get these things called free jack masks that allow you to stun a Titan in one hit. They're scattered around the levels and you can sometimes get them from defeated enemies. When you are on a Titan, you have a light and heavy attack like before, but you can't jump. Instead, pressing the jump button will unleash a powerful attack that'll have to recharge after you use it. It's really fun to control these things. You just feel so powerful. I'll talk about more of the Titans as I get through the story, but first I want to talk about more of the game mechanics. In this game, you don't collect Wumpa Fruits to get more lives. Instead, it replenishes your health when you collect it, and there are also golden Wumpa Fruits that you can collect to give you an extra life. The regular Wumpa Fruit is found by defeating enemies or destroying crates, while the gold Wumpa Fruit are given one of two ways. The first is by destroying these blue orbs. They can only be destroyed by sacrificing a Titan, and they give out a ton of mojo and gold Wumpa Fruit. The second way is by destroying a spy bot. There are 3 in each level, though honestly I think it's random on whether or not you get a gold Wumpa from it. Speaking of mojo, that's the main collectible in this game. You get it by doing pretty much anything. Killing enemies, breaking boxes, destroying spy bots, destroying the orbs, etc. The mojo isn't used to buy weapons or moves or upgrades. Instead, as you collect mojo, this meter will fill up. Once you get a certain amount, you will get an upgrade, which can range from a new attack to a health upgrade. There are 27 upgrades in the game, and you don't get to choose which one you want next, which is a little dumb, but it's not a huge problem. The game is split up into multiple episodes, but that's basically just a fancy way of saying levels. After you beat each episode, you are given a totem based on 3 things: minions killed, spy bots destroyed, and how big of a combo you got. The combo and minion categories are different every time, but every level has only 3 spy bots. If you do all 3 of the things, then you get a gold totem. Do 2 and you get a silver totem. Do 1 and you get a bronze totem. And if you do done, then you get a completed totem. Aw man, it's not even shiny. Also, at one point you learn how to slide and you start doing this sliding section, which is actually really fun, and I wish that there were more levels like it in the game. The story in this game is pretty spread out, so I'm going to talk more about the Titans and my thoughts on them. The Spike, a porcupine crab hybrid and the first Titan you see. Simple, yet fun. The Gore, some kind of bear, mammoth, boar thing. A bumped. While it is powerful, I don't really care for it as it's really slow. The Snipe, a bird fox creature that snipes. How unexpected. Then we finally get to Cortex and Uka Uka, who are sucking up all the mojo. Uka Uka takes the mojo back to their base, while Cortex takes back to defeat Crash. It's here where we fight the first boss, the Yuctopus, which is a sexa hybrid of an ox, a yak, a duck, an octopus, a robot, and bagpipes.
Finish him!
Odd combination. After we knock down some walls with the Yak's Octobot pipes, Cortex flies back to his base where we meet Engine and Tiny. Engine seems to be some kind of Igor parody.
Thank you, Master!
And Tiny is a parody of Mike Tyson.
Someone that needs the help solving the mystery.
It's really nice stationery too.
Oh yeah, I should mention, Uka Uka in this game is voiced by John DiMaggio, and he does an amazing job.
That was ridiculous and appalling. You failed to destroy Crash Bandicoot.
He and Lex Lang as Cortex are the best voice actors in the game in my opinion.
I don't see what the big deal is. We got away with the mojo and Crash's sister.
Speaking of Uka Uka and Cortex, the former decides to replace the latter, which leads to this funny scene.
You can't replace me. My name's on the stationery.
That's right, tough guy. Unless you want to buy on the stationery, you'll respect the master.
Also this one.
Allow me to announce your replacement, Nina Cortex.
Oh, come on. He didn't even have a cup.
Now we're off again, fighting new minions and jacking new Titans. The Rhino Roller, also known as the answer to, what would happen if a tiger, a rhino, and an armadillo had a 3-way? This Titan can roll up into a ball and roll around, which makes for a fun level. The Shellephant.
Just your friendly neighborhood crab-shelled, fire-breathing, mojo-fueled elephant.
The Magmadon. Basically a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle from hell, minus the ninja part. Well, actually. Eventually, we run into Tiny and he speaks.
Crash, I really am cross with you. I'm just trying to do my job, and you go and cause all this chaos.
For the love of God, please shut up. It's not even a good impression. It's just annoying.
I wish some sort of reconciliation was possible here. And frankly, I'm still
Why are
mad
you
about
still
the last
talking?
game. You didn't even invite me.
I will turn you into a rock if you don't shut up right now! Okay, thank you. During this quote-unquote boss fight, we have to open the gate to get to Tiny. Once we open it, we jack a shellfish and then we have to run across this stone path as it's falling apart behind us. I'll admit, this gave me more anxiety than it should have. Finally, we reach Tiny, who proceeds to praise Crash and then tells him and Aku Aku where Coco and Nina are. We go to the beach, where Crash then does an imitation of the ending to the original Planet of the Apes. I don't know why he does this, but he does it. As we try to get to wherever we need to get to, two things happen. We run into the Stench, a vulture skunk hybrid that's basically a slower but more powerful version of the Snipe. And I get a spike skin. You see, once you jack a certain amount of titans, in this case it's 50 spikes, you get a skin of that titan that allows you to stun it in one hit, which I think is a really cool thing to include. I mean, I never really wore them, but hey, they're still cool. Blah blah blah, moving forward, blah blah blah, new titans. The Scorporilla, which is exactly what it sounds like. Oh sorry, exactly what she sounds like. This titan is really fun to control, as you can do stuff like this. The Sludge, a mixture of a chameleon and that gelatin monster from Scooby-Doo Mystery Incorporated. That's not true in the slightest, but hey, you can't disprove me. So we get to Engine's outpost. Oh yeah, Engine's running this place, by the way. I make it to the end of the level when all of a sudden, difficulty spike! These sludges keep killing me and I just can't beat them. I started this part with 11 lives and ended it with 5. This is a common problem in the game. If you get more than one titan in the same area as you, you can get beaten repeatedly without a way to retaliate. For the most part, this isn't a huge problem, as most of the time when you attack one titan, the other titans and minions won't attack you, but it seems to be random when it happens. So after about 3.5 minutes of constantly dying, I said screw it and grabbed this free jack mask and just went after the Scorporilla, where things became much easier. We move on to episode 11. You know, I've been neglecting to talk about this, but every episode title is a pun. Seriously, it's bad enough that the game's title is a pun, but here are the names for the first 10 episodes. A New Hop, A Succumbing to Age Story, A Zero's Journey, The Temple of Zoom, The Emerald Pity, Don't Eat the Yellow Brick Load, The Blizzard of Claws, Life's a Beach, Operation Overboard, A Sludge Too Far. Jesus Christ, it hurts. Now we're on episode 11.
Shocked and awesome.
I hope you die a slow, painful death. The Ratsicle, or as I call them, chili douchebags. This is a rat with ice powers, and I hate them with the passion of a wildfire because that way they'll melt and I won't have to deal with them anymore. These guys block 90% of my attacks, and it's so annoying, especially when they're in packs and they make me want to strangle something. Or someone! Eventually I learned that I could just spam my heavy attack on them, causing their block to be useless, and it made it so the other titans wouldn't attack me. We finally make it to Engine, where we defeat more sludges and chili douchebags, which is surprisingly easy, and then...
I hate them with cheese! They made it here! Now they'll help us save Dr. Cortex!
You know, I'm starting to notice that this game loves its references. After Engine says possibly the creepiest thing I've ever heard from a platforming game...
He always kicked you in the tuchus and other very gentle spots! But I liked it when he did that!
Crash and Aku Aku head off. While this happens, we get a cutscene of Uka Uka telling Nina that he feels a tremor in the mojo, again with the references, saying that the last time he felt it was in the presence of his brother, Aku Aku.
Oh, Jeebus.
Did she just say Jeebus? This conversation then leads into what I think is the best line in the game.
You, stay behind and kill Crash.
Oh yes, I will kill Crash Bandicoot. Kill him forever.
As we make our way to Uka Uka, we see the last non-boss titans in the game. The Battler.
What are you?
I'm Battler. This thing was a bat mixed with... a razor. Yes, flee in terror! It's coming for your shins! While it is fun to control, it's hard to jack because it blocks so much, just like the Ratsicles. Oh well, at least I know just to spam my heavy attacks now. And finally, the Electric. This titan is similar to the Snipe and Stench, as it is useful for ranged attacks, except this time it uses electricity. It also seems to be the only titan that isn't a hybrid creature. Odd. So we platform a bit, suffer through some more puns, and then we make it to Uka Uka, who uses the newly upgraded Evolver Ray, which was the same thing that mutated Crash way back in the first game, to turn himself into the second to last Titan / boss in the game. And may I just say, screw Uka Uka and his Titan spawning laser shooting BS. This is the only time I've gotten a game over in the game. Uka Uka is the hardest boss in the game, but not because he's challenging, but because he spawn spams Titans that keep killing you. It seriously took me 3 plays, 10 lives, a game over, the Battler skin, 32.5 minutes, a second player, to beat him. Since I brought it up, I guess I should mention the multiplayer. In the game, you can play with a second player who will play as Carbon Crash, who, like the name implies, is a carbon copy of Crash. I don't really have too much to say as I only use multiplayer a couple times in the whole game, but I will say that it's nice that you'll only lose a life if both players die. If only one player dies, they can respawn after a certain amount of time, just so long as the other player's alive. I think that's cool, and it made this fight a lot easier. I mean, it still took me like 12 minutes to do it with the second player, but I was able to actually beat him. In the fight, you need to jack Uka Uka to destroy the Evolver Ray so he'll go back to normal. Wait, how can Crash and Aku Aku jack him if he's a mask? Is it because he has a body now? Could either of them jack a creature that the other is on? Does it require more mojo to do that? I guess the world may never know. After defeating Uka Uka, he gloats about how Nina's robot will be completed soon, and that then she won't have any use for Coco. Yeah, whatever, just fly off and don't return to the next game. Aku Aku teleports us outside of the robot since that's the closest he can get us to Nina, because reasons, and then we fight our way inside. And while fighting our way inside, there was a moment while playing that actually made my heart skip a beat. I'm on the second to last level, and I'm near the end. After trying to jack a Magmadon without success, I noticed that I'm on my last life. Instead of risking it for a Titan, I instead decide to take some damage and hop across the lava to get to the exit. That's when this guy ran onto the screen, and I'll admit it scared the crap out of me. I'm just sitting here playing, almost at the exit, when suddenly... Jeebus! Holy crap, I almost died. Wait. Did I just say Jeebus? I am now on the final episode of the game, Revengeance 2, the Revengeance side. Huh. That name sounds familiar. We fight our way to the top, jacking Scorporillas and Battlers until we reach Nina.
Get out of my robot! This is my body and my right to choose!
Did they just make a consent joke? And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, I think it's time to fight Nina, with the promise of pancakes afterwards.
And we'll get pancakes with cherry topping!
Truly, this is a noble cause worth fighting for. Nina controls the final Titan in the game, the Arachnina. Oh my god, there are so many puns. Assuming that this fight would be as hard as the Uka Uka fight, I brought along a second player again. Though the fight was surprisingly easy. A little underwhelming, actually. Though this may be because I got a free jack on Nina after destroying one of the gears that I was supposed to destroy. I don't even know how I got it. The first time it kicked me off and I had to re-jack it, but the second time it kicked me off but the Titan was still stunned, so I beat it in around 6 minutes. After that, Coco stops the robots and the heroes go back home, where Crunch is still frozen. Then I assume that they go to get those pancakes that Coco promised.
You were a skank!
Whoa! So after the story, the credits don't roll. You have to go and start them manually. After you do that, what else is there to do? Well, a handful of things actually. You could go back and try to get a gold totem for each level, you could try and find all the concept art totems, you could try and unlock all the skins, you could go get all of the upgrades, and you could try to beat each mojo room. Oh yeah, I forgot about those. In each level, there's an aura of blue light that you can enter which will take you to a bonus room. Playing these can give you extra mojo. They're fun, but I stopped doing them after a while because they get kind of stale. So that was Crash of the Titans, and you know what? I liked it. I mean, it's not the best game I've ever played, but I still really enjoyed it. There are of course some problems with the game, such as the difficulty spikes in some areas, the combat can sometimes get a little repetitive, and some of the characters were annoying, but the combat was overall enjoyable, the Titans were fun to control, the mojo was really satisfying to collect, the story was enjoyably silly, the controls were amazing, and some of the characters were really good. And like I said in the beginning, the soundtrack is awesome, but I'm not going to add in any tracks because like I also said, I don't know if it's copyrighted. True, it's almost nothing like the Crash games that came before it, and it's a little on the short side, I beat it in about 6 hours, but I'd say if you could find it at a reasonable price, give it a try. You may like it, you may not, but you shouldn't hate on it just because it's different, right guys?
I see! We tip something over! Yeah.
This game would later get a direct sequel in the form of Crash Mind Over Mutant, but that's a game for another review. Anyways, I'm Ghost Ion, and I'll see you in the next review. Hey, I just realized, I did swear once during this review. Yeah, this video's wholesome as fuck!